This would not be explained correctly. Downward draw toward, narrowing down to the center for the still to bound the circle. Left we're slanting around and incomplete. Sights to meet for yet, yes, not my reply, yet I say speak. Across your way come either you. You flow past me and yet decide for defeat, you still stand, and this would be the air for this without find abyss. You're repentant for the enough of the guilt, you ain't free for the you shall find it. I tread the stone for the burning of a sand, you can spread that red rain and pour across your overhead, and this will be the margin of the stream. Your cold beneath your feet, the steam rising from the water. Overhead, your canopy, the roof that caused the widespread to quench that fire for descending, and maybe the rising tide of that bank of light. Such a wave of stream for no the less the height, the thickness of far for the wilderness, and we can find where we bought, we left, we black, we glance, we fell at it, we find it, we fruit, we reminded that after the born for the brands, and this will be the place where the romance and sharply wore that glances at sight for the fitting of us, and you can find it threading with the dream and needle and joy. Need the sight for this to be the man for the meeting with the pier for the twilight for the rising of the moon, the instant. You caught me in that script for the you said that for the facing of what you could see, and then after the periphery, they breathe the birth of the words, they way that got you read, I define and consent. I continue the path and we held the hands and voices to touch the ears, and these are all the learning of the zone to what mind finds at the permit, and you can find some space. We pause, we sat, we sit, we must be here for the years remain, but powerless and death be falling rain, for this is sick besides that for the now, for no farther from the now, the pedals and find a station for the band of breathing, and everlasting, no place of dare, not for the high, for the descending, for only what you can cause and close and climb, and this is walking into the humble player, who's been down for the place of the burning of the sand below, for the who's the chance of me, whose path is so vacant enough, for the returning and the missing, what you can find and guiding in me, for this to be the dread, bring home your last and death to be for the doubt. You do not be in debt for the destined star, for the perceived variety enough for the fair life and the clear for the within and I can breathe in different that way the haven. For who's that too soon determining mind and that you cheered and after the breed and after the plea of thankful for the who's that matters for the coming, not for the noble place, and you can find the still children for the you can hide the hidden and name of the fruit for the still fall for the fall of the tree. It'll be greed and envy and not for the signs to show you look at the way you walk in your eyes and y'all can be the path for the stoning for the feet today the time is near. Where you will find out our train, both for the parties and the post. Waiting for jail, praying enough. Your eagerness and your grasp me far enough. The other side for the dare to be surviving. That's to be the Steve for the run, for the growing of the weeds. And you can find out where they live, and it doesn't be the litter for the natural to stay. Anchor yourself for the master, you can find land with the meat clear in the way. The bulbs of this to be the guided for the heart of the love. Return yourself with the thoughts of recalling the image and the patient and kind enough and the beneficial. The talk for me tireless and high by hour, and I can find the growth within the head. To win my life in the mortar for the rock and live my life, but not but words. But grateful enough for words that I can still give my power to the hoping that the hope conquer further enough for the show to be breached, and after the hereafter I can find the meantime for the fortune of the worst, and I will conscious enough for the wrecking of the days, and I still bore that for the never the rest of that the laws of baiting need to be the back glance and glance, and this to be the shoulder for the right to cast and after the talk. What you say enough forgetting of the days of the unwanted, and I question who's that for the faith, who's that for the earth, and who paid the godless, who's the debt for the torment for the history, who's the fair and the rain, and at the last, so this would be the well known for the better shit you can forever get. Time for the speech is shortened. You're here for not for the scholarship, and you are so low for the defiling, and I must run to the city and find me as mind to admit. A wrecking of the nerves, and yet I see yonder the distance and see smoke arise, and for that reason you can find my riding next to the wayside, and you remember not for the asking, but not even here to make haste, and this to be the flying feet for the wind, you can find a vision for this meeting to pay me forward. There's a rose of such a noise, it is a murmur, it's a hum. For the near we came to the undefined game water, you can find the falling in the level for the water, and that's the disaster. find a vine. Waiting your woes, wings are wide, like the gross birds blow below for their bellies and feather for feet and claw. Your strange cries come from through the sickly trees, and you find a dismissal of the land for the secret. The second circle of the passing and war I mean past this place intolerable sand for the form of the third for the place completes another round. Recalling my earlier speech and talk for the world, the order of the woes and these that look well for the confirmation of things I tell. I looked as I saw, I find the rose and I was willing for the better for the number of woes, and I find the woods that was vacant enough for the ground for the king, not rather for the roads beat up upon us about it, devoted upon it, hated it before the coming for the tangled upon the growth. If you break away, nearest twig, meet that land but find a nest. How far away for the dreaming would you find the truth straight? I've reached out for the twisting of a thorn for that rose of weather, finding whether for long for the broken of a shorter of a tree, for the trunk of a cry for the tree, blood for the gout, for the dark, for the boom, trunk anew for the enrichment, and the new mercy of a lie that still turns the former, more performer, retaining him for what your body for the given to God, and I ban for the souls of the serpents. And this hope is to die where you find out not thought for the mortal for the soul, with the woundless and helpless into the hands and you see. Cast the coals and living for the branch of the green for the endless of everyday burns, and this a project for the clearing the heat for the fire defects. Moisture out and hissing your wind and blood that I for the well for the throne and ride around the word for the wound. Your fear, the strange voice of the pit of being that we can find a rock to drop that broken issue for the fix it. Inside of that stood in the silence and I said it later spoke. I speak now for the spirit for this half-heart believe. I have the truth for the early in the verse and I read it now with the unthinking voice and now the grieving notes the most unhappy, the hapless dead. Mind for the word for the cause of the hand to break. Who knew that truth was incredible enough that you could find it from profound enough and never to be defined to grief in me for the proud enough to speak and tell. You waste that read enough with the renewing of the world for you will soon return. The sound is seducing worse than the fear for the constraint. Forgive me, I don't want to confide in the bitter grief in my trunk and I hide and this is where the silence and the way we bear. The zipper for the patience and somewhat I've been taught long for the cough, the debate of the worst and all around for the returning of the book to find a second confident. Heart two keys and turn them in. Who's to turn to find the right? Who's to great for the fidelity for the only defined and rebel? Against all virtue of the round that throne for the bane for the vice for the high court heart. I slander from them, you can find half belief. His hands receive enough for the only render for the disdain for the silence and accusing of a word for the contempt of the life for the broken of a chain for the help me into with this I couldn't find it injustice in myself and I can swear enough for the stat roots to hold me. Word nor not, this would be the deed for the negligence. You against that for the faithless and uproar for the bear news the burden. This would be the grease below. Rebuild my memory in the road, but not pray for the rashing of a hand and prostrated for the hearers of woe. To found the silence and things I saw, I said I found not lacking of the heart you until you my last guy. Would you reply to me? Would you prison yourself with the grief? This is the man, this is the glad he left and leave the dead for the uplift, the record for the words, intrigue for the informing of the what your faith would be. Bend that soul, the twisted knots, and allow yourself to be tortured enough for the himself to be a man who's stronger enough for the wind was the words.
Somebody better tell me before I get down there and find out. Then I'm gonna find you. The sign for the here to set the space of the falls. Cast out the granite for the roots it strikes. Your rocks and your thorny spikes and grow upward for the leaves. Feeding of a tearing, you're broken, you're bleeding. Pain finds its outlet with the trumpet of the call. Who's the earthly flesh to regain? Who's the truth with that for the hand for the slain, for the owner to enter for the veil? Judgment when we leaving and we can call each other for the body that's slain behind us. And we still we reach the door with the thorns and doors. We still hanging behind it for the every trunk, for the every shape of the bend across that way for this self would be draped. We were still listening. Let more words and dash should come for the only the sad spirit for the such. Rose such. This would be the welling for the wounds they're dumb enough for before for the fall and pause. There's a who's to hear the war. Who's the plunging for the throat to break the night? Who's the crash to buff the bow to rush the beast to chase the fly? Approaching where they stand for the fourth, and you can find the spirit torn to bear for the crying first. But this would be the running and crying behind. Switch the less in mind he had to show. Fine for the limbs and more slow enough. Threat he made more than the further space in your lower crawl, neither not through the woods and contain enough of the instant shade he gained. Rush to the flail of the hellhound. Chase to the here he came for the wild on the bush and the leaping of a trace and the claim, the hiding of a victim for the sinking of a vein for the cloth. And you find the swat of it enough for the mist and the ramp, for the rhythm of the limbs and the diversity they wink and the carrying the fragments and they toward my God. Now lay my steps. The damaged bush aside for the loud lament and the the sevens of the boat we saw for the torn. It was a pain they made for the rony. The protesters, you can gain that for the making of the lease of make a shade. And I've condemnation for the winner, but you can find that bruise and injury for the striving of mind. Answer yourself for the mangling. Disconfident, you'll leave their voice, they straw away for that fair city of plan I dwell. Which one's demise? It's early enough for the kneeling of the Baptist. Who's the place that preferred? Who's therefore for the war to God and enmity? Who's except that for the bridge that you can stand? Here's the statue for the man for the use his hands. He had the toil for the ashes of the hundred again, and the builder for the years that you could have there no name, no tale to say, no other house yet to see for the end of the house, and nor the price to pay for that, the love and the heart for this to be the dear home of mine, and I compel for the name of the Salon. You can find the surface that you can add to who lay there for the gathering of the twins inside that trunk for the nest. Human, boar, bear, benefit, violence in your breath before I slay space. Hateful enough with your shrinking of hate, afraid as not for surely none might cross it to say. I'd find a circle of wood on widespread. Who's the desert for the dark wood? If you can find that belly, it was against a bull and a fence and word on him. Hard is it mighty not to cross that for the rabbit and you can show it. Use your eyes, sand, and who's that has the heavier woes, the vengeance of God, and whose woes were here. Who's the boasting for the who's not to fear? They fear not in heaven, they fear not for the dreadful coast, and you can come not for the whether you could doubt your dread for the under the sands and death and naked soul that I saw loudly enough, then diverse and neck and crouch madly. You're far beyond convey, you wished upon and fixed upon one spot for the course. You were falling in an annihilated fire for the sky, separate with the flakes of flame. I crossed that toward and you had that stamp for the red, and you joined that spread for the collaboration, and you flaked that downward for the unseasoning of a sheep, for the you tender for the blending of a steel that they ignite that dance of the booming ends, and I vain that brush aside, selling your points of pain. All of these in different hills, all of you days engaged in these demons, and you wonder you under your lives, and these the fierce of the same for the peddling of the internal ruin. Now I can find the heart for the greatest well of the ruin. I question that for the rebel you find the shade in, and I live in the heart and slain. Your thoughts and thoughtlessness and relentless and rain will fall ever for the nub of the dove for the toiling for the you can find a tire for who you stretch it that for the be read fritz and transfix and this be the tire I like that for the owner to find the power to strike and make me force to taste that joy to break me supply I had to learn I speak slow in words slurred. The wrath makes me answer my only questions that rage for profit. This would be the outer fires and alleys, allies, heaven, the boar, the bear. This would be the tool what he told, and this is what he sees. God had his words in confidence and careful steps he led for the margin of mournful ways of thinking. Your outward and inside of beneath of the ramp forward, you can find that for the bottom of the stone. You cast that to turn over, you can find that for the judging of what else under where I crossed that fiery plane. What else repelled you? Again, I was speaking. No one was listening or understanding, for who was standing on top of me. No sights to the wonder where to compare, for this to be the slight strength of the margin of who could bear. Burn the hot, whose desire for the hunger, whose food required enough for the far ocean, the lies and idols to wait. Who's early enough for the world, for the chasing of the ruling of a man. Peace of still nights and yo lingering on, had the murmuring of the leaves falling for the water. It lies bare for the slaughter, for that you can find an outdated, more desolate, naked place in the change of fate. I'm not for the mountain you stand.
Somebody better tell me. Somebody better tell me. Somebody better tell me before I get down there and find out. And then I'm gonna find you.
Somebody better tell me before I get down there and find out. And then I'm gonna find you. Consigned for the here to set the space that it falls. Cast after the random for the roots it strikes. Your rocks and your thorny spikes and grow upward for the leaves. And feeding of a tearing and broken, yo bleeding. Pain finds its outlet for the trumpet that will call. Who's the earthly flesh you regain? Who's the troop of that for the hand, for the slain, for the owner, they enter for the veil? Judgment when we leave, and we can call each other for the body that's slain behind us, and until we reach the door of the thorns and doors, and we still hang behind it for the every trunk, for the every shave of the bend, across that way for the self would be Drake. We were still listening. Let more words and dash come, for the only the sad spirit for the such. Rose such. This would be the wailing for the wounds. They're dumb enough for the before, for the fall, the pause. So there's a who's a here at the board. Who's the plunger for the door to break the night. Who's the crash to buff the bows, the rush, the beast, the chase, the fly. Approaching where they stand for the fourth, and you can find the spirit torn to bear for the crying and first. This would be the running and crying behind. Swifter less in mind he had to show. Fine for the limbs and more slow enough. Threat he made more for the further space in your low. Crawled deep and not through the woods and contained enough of the instant shade he gained. Rushed to the flail of the hellhound. Chased to hear he came for the wild on the bush and the leaping of a trace and the claim, the hiding of a victim for the sinking of a vein for the claw. You find the swat of it enough for the midst and the ramp for the rhythm of the limbs and the diversity they went from carrying the fragments and they toward my God. Now let my steps. The damaged bush aside for the loud lineman, and for the room the seven of the boat we saw for the torn. It was the pain they made for the ruin of the protesters. You can gain that for the making of the lease of making shade, and I've condemnation for the women of the divine that bruise the injury for the striving of mind. Answer yourself with the mangling. Disconfident, you'll leave their voice, they straw away for that fair city you're playing out of. Which one's demise? It's early enough for the kneeling of the Baptist. Who's the place that preferred? Who's therefore for the war to God and enmity? And who's the accept that for the bridges you could stand? Here's the statue for the man for the use his hands. He had the tool for the ashes of the hundred again, and the builder for the years that you could have there no name, no tale to say, no other house yet to see for the end of the house, and you're the price to pay for that. The love and the heart for this to be the dear home of mine, and not compelled for the name of the son. You can find the surface that you can answer. Who lay there through the gathering of the twist inside that trunk for the nest? Human, boar, bear, benefit, violence in your breath. Before I slay space, hateful enough for this drinking of hate, afraid enough for surely none might cross it and say, I'd find a circle that would widespread. Who's the deaths for the dark wood if you find a belly with against the bull and fencing word on it. Heart is minded not to cross out for the revenant to move and show it. Your eyes sand and who's the has the heavier woes, the vengeance of God and whose woes we hear. Who's the boasting for the who's not the fear? They fear not in heaven, they fear not for the dreadful ghosts, and you can come not for the what you could doubt your dread for the owner of the sands, and that's the naked soul that I saw loudly enough and diverse and never crowd.
Somebody better tell me. With all of those gaps in and out of the whole love.
With all of those gaps in and out of
With all of those gaps in and out of the whole love, coming trembled enough for the mountain to fall, power of love. This could be the discomforter. I ain't forgotten the time for this age is still. Tale change world the chaos. You need to heed the way that will undefine the blood wearing. Murder with you the violence and death, the brief within. Short of the worth of the kind of the wage. So long as there for the repenting. I behold, you're surrounded with the plain below for the narrative of the bank. Who held that for the spirit for the casting? You bend it with the bow for the races upon that break for their game, but they're hunted with the rod of men. What torment do they only find the guilt? It's such a strange wandering, losing enough for the dooming, for the you can find that chord to teach you for the undisturbed. My God, my answer. Now for such vain threats we stay rash in that cost. And once need to find the life, and you can still find the folly. Behold yourself for the once you died. Play once in the infinite year for the killers. You are the last to go. Around that you can go. Any spirit for the boiling blood will quit. Beyond the license they doomed to know the difference with the anguish in the shaft that slit. Parts to show they're naked enough for the swift that we approach that for the while we spoke. Not to put back for that, only to hinder for the deer to draw. This would be the those of the comrades with the those that walking over there for dust coming. Wait that like you can find that stone to throw. You can find that who stood there for the human to find who was combined beneath that. Answer me. I know there's a racist this dark for the valley. Choice to find for what was driven the need. Night of the flame, she came from the singing, and came from the bonding of me for the no spirit, for the condemning of mind, for the deserving, for the what I pray, for the virtue, for the name, and I say, what care is it for this to be only bear, for the cross that, for the tread, for the yielding, for the air, this carnage, and another you're around for this to be the right now. Warm yourself and not the wrong way they do in their past. These would be the breathing for the boiling of the blood for the spirits and browns and mercy. This would be the year and after the high to repent for them. You are the streaming with the sever of the blind. I am unaware of the spirits is boiling in the pond, and show yourself for the neck for the place behind that guy for the average of a father's name. You even have the presence of God for the victims of the yet the heart of reverence of the bank for the dive and call it, and this would be the part place separate for the deed of your blasphemy. And the further past that for the guilt of the lie, for the freedom of the waste yo among that crowd, for the numerous and new wow, you can find a clear view for this to be the deeds that I knew. It seemed to be purple growing. Feet was free. Across that, for it was solved. A soul living in the world of the dead. Climbed upward for the earlier weight he bore. Wide he waited for the further of a shore. You steamed the now to know for the dimmest and the only distinct and new. For the rounding of the circle for the coming and once more for the what's rolling around and choking him over the neck. This is not that for the throat. This is for the wall he wrote for he couldn't say. Recrossed with the purple stream for the you could find it. Enter with the no path and enter with the door. The crow and the curl whirlwind. Hold on. No sun came through yet.
With all of those gaps in and out of the whole love coming trembled enough.
With all of those gaps in and out of the whole love coming trembled enough for the mountain to fall power of love. This could be the discomforting. I ain't forgotten the times that the sage is still. Tale change world, the chaos. You need to heed the way with undefined the blood wearing. Murder with you the violence and death to breathe within. Short of the warfare, the kind of the wage. So long as there for the repenting. I behold, you're surrounded with the plain below for the narrative of the bank. Who held that for the spirit for the casting? You could bend up with the bow for the race upon that brink for their game, but there's 100 with the world of men. What torment do they only find the guilt? It's such a strange wandering and losing enough for the dooming for the you can find that chord to teach you for the undisturbed my God my answer. Now for such vain threats we stay rash in that cost. Then once need to find the life and you can still find the folly. And behold yourself for the once you died. Play once an infinite of a year for the Achilles. You are the last to go. Around that for you can go. Any spirit for the boiling blood will quit. Beyond the license of their doom, they know the difference with the anguish in the shaft that slit. Parts to show they're naked enough for the swift that we approach that for the while we spoke. Not to put back for that, but only to hinder for the beard to draw. This would be the those of the comrades for the those of the walking of a dead for the dust to coming. Wait that like you can find that stone to throw. You can find that who stood there for the human to find who was combined beneath that. Answer me. I know there's a race.